Hey guys, tonight we're diving into the dusty trails of ancient China, where a peculiar stone sparked a revolution that still guides us today. Picture yourself on the banks of the Yellow River, the air thick with silt and the clang of hammers. It's the Han Dynasty, around 200 BC, and you're surrounded by blacksmiths squinting at a chunk of rock that's acting weird. This isn't just any stone, it's a lodestone, pulling toward the north like it's got a crush on the pole star. You're about to witness the birth of the compass, a tool that'll steer merchants through deserts and sailors across seas. But let's be real, if you were navigating the Silk Road without this thing, you'd probably end up as vulture chow. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I'm curious where you're chilling tonight. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're standing in a village hugged by the Yellow River's muddy curves, where the sun bakes the earth and the air smells of charcoal and sweat. The Han Dynasty's in full swing, and life here is a mix of grit and ingenuity. You're elbow to elbow with blacksmiths, their hands blackened from forging tools for farmers and traders. One of them, a wiry guy named Wei, is poking at a dark, glossy stone he found while digging for ore. It's lodestone, or magnetite, and it's doing something freaky. No matter how you spin it, one end always swings back to point north. You lean in, squinting as Wei scratches his head, muttering about spirits. This is no magic trick, it's magnetism, a force nobody here fully gets yet. Historians peg this moment, around the 2nd century BC, as when the compass's story begins, though it's less about navigation and more about cosmic vibes at first. Wei is not alone in his fascination. The village buzzes with chatter about this north-seeking stone. You overhear an old woman swear it's the work of river gods, a quirky belief that'll linger for centuries. She's not entirely wrong to sense something mystical. Lodestone's pole feels like the earth itself is whispering directions. You watch Wei balance the stone on a wooden table, trying to figure out why it's so stubborn about north. Historians still argue whether these early tinkerers knew they were laying the groundwork for a world-changing tool, or just thought they'd stumbled on a neat parlor trick. Either way, you're seeing the spark of something big. The village is a hub of experimentation. You wander past clay kilns and reed baskets where folks are testing the lodestone's limits. They spin it, dangle it, even dunk it in water to see if it'll still point true. Spoiler, it does. You can't help but grin at their stubborn curiosity. It's like watching someone solve a Rubik's Cube with no instructions. One guy jokes that the stone is in love with the North Star, and you chuckle, but the idea sticks. The lodestone's reliability is uncanny, and it's starting to feel like a gift from the heavens. You notice Wei sketching designs on a bamboo strip, dreaming up ways to make this stone more than a curiosity. He's got no clue he's about to change history, but you do. As the sun dips, casting golden streaks across the river, you sit with the villagers around a fire. They're passing the lodestone around, each taking a turn to marvel at its north-pointing trick. You feel the weight of the moment. This isn't just a rock, it's a key to unlocking the world. The blacksmiths are already talking about shaping it into something practical, maybe something to help the traders who stumble into the village half dead from the desert. You smirk, thinking how I'd never survive a week out there without a map, or a snack. The night deepens, and the lodestone sits in Wei's calloused hands, its secret ready to unfold.
You're back in the village, the Yellow River glinting under a hazy dawn. The air's thick with the scent of wet clay and smoldering wood, and you're crouched beside Wei, the blacksmith from last night, who's now obsessed with that lodestone. Remember that north-pointing rock that had everyone buzzing? Well, Wei's not content just to gawk at it anymore. He's got a gleam in his eye like he's about to invent the wheel, or at least something half as cool. You're about to help him turn this quirky stone into the world's first compass. A clunky but brilliant gadget that'll make getting lost a little less fatal. The Han Dynasty's still humming along, and you're right in the thick of its ingenuity. Wei's workshop is a mess of tools and half-baked ideas. You step over iron scraps and duck under a low beam, watching him carve a wooden plate with a knife. He's muttering about balance, about making the lodestone float so it can spin freely. You hand him a chisel, feeling the rough grain of the wood under your fingers. This is where the magic happens. The lodestone, shaped into a crude spoon-like form, gets nestled into a groove on the plate. Wei calls it a south pointer because, well, if one end loves the north, the other's got to point south, right? You smirk at his logic. It's like naming a dog not cat. Historical records confirm this design, called a sinan, was one of the earliest compasses, used around the 2nd century BC, though it's more ritual prop than GPS. You help Wei polish the wooden plate, its surface smooth as river stones. The lodestone spoon wobbles but always settles, pointing north like it's got a personal vendetta against wandering off course. You're struck by how simple it is, just a rock and a plank, yet it's a game changer. A quirky tidbit floats through the village. Some folks believe the lodestone's power comes from dragon spirits living in the mountains. You roll your eyes but can't help picturing a dragon whispering, "Go north, dummy." Wei's not buying the dragon talk. He's too busy testing the sinan, spinning it to see if it holds true under a cloth or in the rain. Spoiler, it's stubborn as ever. The workshop hums with trial and error. You hold the plate steady while Wei tweaks the lodestone shape, shaving bits off to make it lighter. Historians still argue whether these early compasses were practical tools or just fancy toys for scholars playing at mysticism. You see both sides. The sinan feels like a revelation, but it's also finicky, wobbling like a toddler on ice. You joke that it's the world's worst fidget spinner, and Wei grunts, unimpressed. Still, you're starting to get why this matters. Traders straggle into the village, their robes dusted with desert sand, swapping tales of getting lost on the Silk Road. You overhear one griping about a caravan that vanished, probably because they trusted a drunk camel over a map. This compass could save their hides. As dusk settles, you and Wei sit outside, the sinan resting between you. The village is quiet, save for the river's soft gurgle and a distant dog barking. You trace the plate's edges, imagining the journeys this tool will guide. Wei is already dreaming bigger, maybe a smaller version, or one that doesn't need a whole table to work. You tease him about inventing a pocket compass, and he snorts, but you see the wheels turning. The lodestone's pull feels like a promise, a way to tame the chaos of the world beyond the village. You lean back, staring at the stars, knowing this little device is about to send merchants farther than they've ever dared. And yeah, you're pretty proud to be part of it, even if you're just holding the chisel.
You're no longer in the village, the Yellow River's muddy banks fading behind you. Now, you're trudging through a sun-scorched desert, the Silk Road stretching like an endless ribbon of dust under your sandals. The air shimmers with heat, and your throat's dry as old parchment. You're tagging along with the merchant caravan, their camels grumbling under loads of silk and spice. In your hand is Wei's sinan, that clunky wooden plate with the lodestone spoon, its north-pointing tip your only shot at not wandering into oblivion. Remember that workshop where you and Wei carved this thing? Now it's showtime, guiding these traders through a wilderness that doesn't care if you live or die. The caravan leader, a grizzled man named Liang, squints at the sinan like it's a puzzle he doesn't trust. You hold it steady, the lodestone wobbling before locking north. Liang grunts, impressed but skeptical, and adjusts the caravan's path. The Silk Road, thriving in the Han Dynasty, is a network of trade routes connecting China to distant lands, a historical lifeline for goods like jade and glass. But it's no picnic. Sandstorms, bandits, and dehydration are just Tuesday here. You wipe sweat from your brow, joking to Liang that without this compass, you'd be circling the same dune until your buzzard bait. He doesn't laugh, but you catch a smirk. The desert's a beast, all shifting sands and mirages that trick your eyes. You notice the merchants clutching the sinan during breaks, double-checking its direction like it's a sacred relic. A quirky rumor spreads among them. Some swear the lodestone's pull weakens if you eat too much garlic. You chuckle, imagining a camel driver blaming his lunch for getting lost. It's nonsense, but it shows how this tool's already weaving into their myths. You help Liang align the sinan at dawn, its spoon glinting under the rising sun. Historians still argue whether these early compasses were reliable enough for long treks or just gave traders a false sense of security. You feel the truth in your hands. It's not perfect, but it's better than guessing. Hours blur into days, the caravan's rhythm a slog of creaking carts and snorting camels. You're bone-tired, your sandals caked with sand, but the Sinan keeps you grounded. At night, you huddle by a fire, the stars blazing above like a map you can't read. Liang shares a story of a lost caravan swallowed by the desert because they trusted a guide who swore he felt the way. You joke that his gut was probably just bad dumplings, and the group laughs, tension easing. The Sinan is sitting nearby, its lodestone steady, a quiet hero in this vast, unforgiving world. You trace its wooden edge, feeling the weight of every merchant's hope pinned to it. As the caravan nears an oasis, you spot green palms breaking the horizon, a sight that makes your heart skip. The Sinan guided you true, and Liang slaps your shoulder, muttering about that magic rock. You grin, thinking of way back in the village, clueless about the lives his invention's saving. The oasis buzzes with traders swapping goods and tales, and you overhear one claim the Sinan's power comes from a star god's breath. You roll your eyes but let it slide. Out here, belief keeps people moving. The desert's still out there, waiting to swallow the unprepared, but with the Sinan in hand, you feel a flicker of control, like you've tamed a piece of the wild.
You're back in the village by the Yellow River, the desert's dust still clinging to your memory. The air here is cooler, scented with wet reeds and smoke from clay kilns. You're no longer with the merchants, but standing among mystics and scholars, their robes fluttering as they crowd around a Sinan, that lodestone and wood compass you helped we craft. Remember how it guided Liang's caravan through the Silk Road's chaos? Now, it's not just for navigation. It's become a spiritual superstar. You're about to see the compass take a detour into the world of feng shui, where aligning houses and tombs is more about cosmic harmony than dodging sandstorms. The village square is alive with debate. A scholar named May, her hair pinned with jade, holds the Sinan like it's a sacred text. She's not interested in trade routes. She's using it to map the flow of qi, the life energy that supposedly hums through the earth. You watch her place the Sinan on a low table, its lodestone spoon spinning to north, as she murmurs about aligning a new shrine. Historical records confirm that by the Han Dynasty, around the 2nd century BC, the compass was first used for feng shui, long before it became a sailor's lifeline. You nudge a nearby apprentice, joking that May is probably divining where to park her couch for good luck. He glares, but you catch his smirk. May's not alone. Other mystics are obsessed with the Sinan's north-pointing trick, claiming it reveals the Earth's hidden veins. You overhear a quirky rumor. Some believe the lodestone only works if you whisper to it first, like it's a shy spirit. You chuckle, picturing May sweet-talking a rock, but you get why they're hooked. The Sinan feels like a bridge to the heavens, its steady pull a cosmic GPS. You help May mark directions on a clay tablet, tracing lines for north, south, east, and west. Historians still argue whether these early feng shui uses were pure mysticism or a practical way to organize space in a chaotic world. You see both sides. It's ritual, sure, but it's also about control, taming the unknown, just like the merchants did. You wander to a nearby hill where May is directing workers to align a tomb. The Sinan sits on a cloth, its wooden plate scratched from use. You hold it steady, feeling the lodestone's faint tug as May adjusts the tomb's angle to face north, supposedly to ensure the dead rest easy. You joke that if the afterlife has bad directions, you're not signing up. The workers laugh, but May is all business, muttering about cosmic balance. You notice how the village has embraced this tool, not just for finding north, but for finding meaning. Every house, every shrine is starting to follow the Sinan's lead, as if the earth itself is whispering instructions. As night falls, you sit by the river, the Sinan resting beside you. Fireflies dance over the water, and you can still hear May debating with another scholar about the best angle for a granary.
The compass's role in feng shui feels like a pivot, a moment where a practical tool becomes something deeper. You trace the plate's grooves, thinking of the merchants who trusted it in the desert. Now it's guiding souls, not just caravans. You smirk, imagining Wei's reaction to his invention being used for spiritual interior decorating. The stars above feel closer, like they're in on the secret, and you wonder how far this little device will travel from dusty trails to sacred hills.
You've left the village's mystic gatherings behind, the Yellow River's hum now a distant memory. You're standing on a creaking wooden deck, sea spray stinging your face as a Han Dynasty ship rocks beneath you. The ocean's vast, a churning beast of gray waves and secrets, and you're clutching a Sinan, that lodestone compass you saw born in Wei's workshop. Remember how it guided merchants through deserts and mystics, through cosmic rituals? Now it's your lifeline, helping traders navigate the open sea, where a wrong turn means you're fish food. The compass is stepping up, and you're along for the salty ride. The ship's captain, a weathered man named Hao, grips the Sinan like it's his only friend. You help him steady the wooden plate, its lodestone spoon wobbling with the ship's sway before locking north. By the 11th century, historical records show the magnetic compass was a maritime game changer, but you're seeing its earlier days, when sailors were just starting to trust this odd device over gut instinct. The deck smells of tar and dried fish, and you squint at the horizon where sky and sea blur. You joke to Hao that without the Sinan, you'd be sailing in circles until you're dizzy as a drunk seagull. He grunts, too focused to laugh. Waves slap the hull, and you feel the ship's rhythm, a dance with the wind. The crew's nervous, muttering about sea dragons. A quirky sailor's tale claiming lodestones lose their pull if a dragon swims nearby. You smirk, imagining a dragon flipping the compass like a bad GPS signal, but you keep that to yourself. The Sinan's steady, guiding the ship toward a trade port loaded with silk and porcelain. You help Hao mark the course on a bamboo chart, the lodestone's north-pointing spoon your only constant in this endless water. Historians still argue whether these early maritime compasses were reliable or just lucky charms for desperate sailors. You feel the truth in the ship's sway. It's not perfect, but it's keeping you from drifting into nowhere. Night falls, and the sea turns inky, stars scattered like spilled salt. You're on watch, the Sinan cradled in your hands, its wooden plate cool against your palms. The crew huddles below, swapping stories of lost ships that trusted the wind over science. You joke that those sailors probably thought follow the dolphins was a solid plan, and a nearby deckhand chuckles. The Sinan's lodestone holds firm, a quiet anchor in the dark. You think of Liang, the caravan leader from the Silk Road, and how this same tool saved his crew from the desert's jaws. Now, it's saving you from the seas. Hao checks the compass again, his face lit by a swaying lantern, and you see relief in his eyes as land's faint outline appears. As dawn breaks, the port comes into view, wooden docks bustling with traders, the air thick with salt and spice. You help tie the ship, the Sinan still in hand, its lodestone pointing north like it's bragging. Hao slaps your back, muttering about, "That rock's good luck." You grin, thinking of Wei and his workshop, clueless that his invention is now conquering seas. The crew unloads crates, and you overhear a trader claim the Sinan's power comes from a mermaid's kiss. You roll your eyes, but let it slide. Out here, myths keep spirits high. The sea's still out there, vast and unforgiving. But with the Sinan, you've carved a path through its chaos, one north-pointing spin at a time.
You're standing on solid ground again, the sea's salty sting fading as you wander through a bustling trade city, its streets alive with the clatter of carts and the chatter of merchants. The years drifted forward, past the Han Dynasty, closer to the 11th century, and the Sinan you knew, that clunky lodestone spoon on a wooden plate, has evolved. In your hands is a sleeker compass, its needle magnetized and floating in water, pointing north with a confidence that feels almost cocky. Remember how it guided Hao's ship through the ocean's chaos? Now you're tracing its legacy, seeing how this little tool reshaped the world, from dusty Silk Road trails to the edges of empires. The city's a crossroads where traders from distant lands swap silk, spices, and stories. You're in a market square, the air thick with cumin and sweat, watching a merchant show off a compass to a crowd. It's no longer just a Chinese secret. By the 11th century, historical records note the magnetic compass spreading along trade routes, reaching Arab sailors and beyond. You hold the new compass, its needle steady in a small bronze bowl, and marvel at its simplicity. It's like the seinen got a glow-up, trading its wooden bulk for something you could slip into a pocket. You joke to a nearby trader that it's the world's first GPS, minus the annoying voice telling you to recalculate. He stares, confused. But you're used to that by now. The compass's reach is staggering. You overhear tales of ships crossing vast seas, guided by this needle to ports in India and Persia. A quirky rumor floats through the market. Some sailors swear the compass only works if you sleep with it under your pillow, like it needs to dream of north. You chuckle, picturing a needle snoring, but the story shows how deeply this tool's woven into lives. You follow a scholar to a quiet courtyard where he's sketching maps based on compass readings. Historians still argue whether the compass sparked a navigation revolution or just amplified existing skills. You see it in the merchant's eyes. This tool's not just pointing north, it's pointing to possibility, to lands and riches beyond the horizon. You wander to a dockside tavern where sailors swap tales of a rice wine. The compass sits on the table, its needle glinting under flickering lanterns. One sailor claims it saved his crew from a storm, guiding them to a safe harbor. You joke that maybe the storm was just jealous of the compass's charm, and the table laughs, clinking cups. You think back to Wei's workshop, to Liang's caravan, to Mei's feng shui rituals, and now to Hao's ship, all tied by this one invention. The compass has become a bridge, linking deserts, seas, and skies, making the world feel smaller, less terrifying. You trace the bronze bowl's rim, feeling its weight, not just in your hands, but in history. As night deepens, you step outside, the city's noise softening to a hum. The stars are out, sharp against the black, and you hold the compass, its needle steady as ever. The world's opening up. Explorers, traders, and dreamers are stepping into the unknown, armed with this tiny guide. You smile thinking of Wei, who never imagined his lodestone would sail so far. The compass's story isn't just about finding north, it's about finding courage, connection, a way forward. You breathe deep, the cool air grounding you, and let the moment linger. The needle's quiet certainty, whispering of journeys yet to come. The night's grown soft now, the city's bustle fading like a distant tide. You're still holding that compass, its needle catching starlight, but the world feels quieter, gentler. The markets are hushed, the traders tucked into their dreams, and you're left with the hum of history settling around you. That little tool in your hand, it carried merchants through deserts, sailors through storms, and mystics toward meaning. Now, it's guiding you to rest. Picture the yellow river's slow ripple, the desert's warm silence, the sea's rocking lullaby. Let the compass's steady point north be your anchor, pulling you into calm. The world's vast, but you've traced its paths tonight, step by step, star by star. Close your eyes, let the fan's hum carry you, and drift into sleep, where north is wherever you dream it to be.